Okay. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the final return of Armchair Producers, episode 54. I am one of your hosts, George Tarrant, alongside the man, the myth, the Jeff Hardy to my Matt Hardy, Mr. Travis Croft. How are you?
Well, that's a giant compliment. Jeff was a world champion.
Exactly.
Was always more of a Matt man myself. I always thought Matt would go on to have a better career than Jeff, but I stand corrected in time.
Yeah. Mind you, Matt
They
had...
were my favorite tag team. Them and Lita, great freaking tag team. And we're starting yet again on professional wrestling this week.
Yeah. We're getting a theme.
But ladies and gentlemen, there is actually, I am staring down at a co-host with a new hair coloring, which was bothering me. And my first reaction was to try and convince him not to shoot up a screening of a Christopher Nolan film. But what I'm seeing now is I am seeing broken Matt Hardy on the screen in front of me here, ladies and gentlemen. So that is what's prompted the Hardy Boys chat tonight. It's a shame that WWE's just been here. You could totally turn up and be cosplaying as Matt.
I could still be doing it in my heart. I was always a Hardy Boys fan. We were talking just now about Matt, Jeff, and Lita being an awesome tag team, and they really were. They went through some weird stuff.
Days, man. So the Dudley Boys, Christian, the Hardy Boys. That was a hot time to be a fan of tag team wrestling in the early 2000s.
Their iconic tables, ladders, and chairs match was just beautiful.
Yes, the tables, ladders, chairs matches were unforgettable.
Yeah.
As much as I hated Edge and Christian because we were supposed to hate them.
Yeah.
They did a wonderful job.
It's true.
Now, I was going to apologize to our audience if we sound quality is potentially a little bit less this week. I don't know if it's at my end or in the hinterland of King Lake at Electric Fried Brain Studios. We may be having some might be holding up.
Yeah, King Lake seems to be caught in a time vortex the last month or so.
It sounds like it's coming in via carrier pigeon right now. And looking at a frozen screen at my end, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. It's frozen, but I don't know if you can hear me. That's not a good sign. I don't think you can hear me. Yeah. My pen finally died after how many episodes? I don't know. 54. I just mentioned it. All right, I am gonna pause. I paused it.
That's a good idea.
Post-production on Armchair Producers is, of course, top-notch, but at the same time, I usually do editing whilst at work.
Yes, well, I mean, you got to do something interesting at work, don't you?
That's true.
I will be out of work in about 15 days.
Oh, yes, that's right. Anything interesting on the horizon?
I did speak to an airline last week, but it doesn't sound like that's going to go anywhere. It's a quiet time of year looking for work unless one wants to work potentially in retail, I guess. Summer, I don't know. Are you hiring summer staff?
I'm not, because the Uni Hill shopping centre is dead as dead can be.
Every time I've been there, it's dead.
Yep. Like Black Friday, they had open until 9 p.m. It was actually quieter than a standard Friday. And the weekend, where all these big sales were, it was no busier than a normal Saturday or Sunday. And there were some people who were going, oh my God, it's so busy. Actually, it wasn't, because a lot of the bigger stores were doing a 2-in, 2-out policy. So you were queuing up to get in. So it just looked really busy because people were waiting in queues for Nike.
So you had to queue to enter stores that weren't particularly busy?
Oh, none of them were particularly busy. Midday, lunchtime, I walked around and it's like, okay, I can instantly get service any shop that I want to go into. the only stores that looked busy were Nike, Adidas, and New Balance.
And we were open to being sponsored by any one of those companies.
Absolutely. We will shill for everyone.
But yeah,
Now,
there you go. Good to see. But sorry to hear about the retail travails at Uni Hill. There's somewhere you don't want to invest your money.
well, no, it's a good possibility to invest a lot because it is a developing area. They just haven't invested any into the shopping center and actually make it something that is modern rather than back in 1994.
Hey, I lived out there in '94, and that wasn't there.
Exactly. It might as well not be.
That was a mental hospital. It was something useful.
All right. So you were talking about going nowhere potentially with an airline, which I can't help but find the humor of.
Well, it was Tiger, so it's pretty much half of the course. Not good. We're open to being sponsored by any one of the major airlines in this country, including Tiger, who offer a wonderful product to their many consumers. It was with an airline actually out of Tullamarine Airport, which would have been ironic considering it was 15 minutes from where I used to live, and now it's a drive from where I live. But unfortunately, I haven't heard back about that one, so I'd say that's a no. I was. It's not a lot. Just not a lot around right now, but part of me is actually kind of like looking forward to. People. It's really weird. You talk to people and they're like, "Are you anxious? It must make you nervous. You must be nervous. You haven't found another job yet." And you're like, "No, not really, because I can afford to not be nervous." So, I mean, if I was like on the edge of not being able to pay my rent, I guess that would be a different story. But that's not the situation, fortunately. So I don't have to be nervous, and I can have to jump on the first job that I see. I had an opportunity to go for an interview today, but once they described it to me, and I heard about the person who was advertising it, I'm like, yeah, maybe not. I don't really want to work for a prick. So, and do boring things for a prick.
So it was a government job.
It was actually, it was slightly governmentish. I won't mention the name of the institution or department because you never know. But I'm sure the Russian bots report back on many things. But yeah, so I don't have to be that person who goes, so obviously some people are in that position where they just have to take whatever they can get whenever they can get it. And I guess I'm not in that spot now. I don't have to jump on the first thing that comes my way. Well, it would be nice to be coming back I am going on a cruise over New Year's Eve. I won't be able to podcast directly from the cruise, but I'll see if I can record some vignettes. I'll just talk to some of the passengers and ask them what they think about podcasts.
Are you asking me what cocktail I'd like?
Only if you buy me one. So it'd be nice to have a job to come back to after that, but I'm not stressing out about it. But if there anybody out there in the botverse has a highly paid, rather undemanding job, but they were looking for someone to fill, I'm your person. I'm very comfortable not doing much for a lot of money.
Yes, I would love that position as well. We work very well, obviously, as a double act, and you can pay us accordingly. So double that pay, and then don't expect us to do anything.
I'd like to express an appreciation for not doing much for a lot of money. Actually, it's interesting. You see jobs occasionally. Seeing a Disney company have been advertising a lot of jobs in Australia for launch. I think maybe Disney Plus might have precipitated that. Unfortunately, I'm not qualified for any of them, but it would be interesting to work for a company like Disney. I wonder how horrible they really are.
I don't think that they're horrible at all. I think they are quite possibly the most vanilla company that you can imagine because they are aiming for as many people as they can get. So it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, cool. Come on in. The higher ups, that's probably where the racism, bigotry, and sodomy comes in.
Yeah, and the satanic worship and the interdimensional child molesters. I just see you hear things, right? You hear about their parks in the States and the conditions that people have to work in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like fun.
And you wouldn't be one of the animators, so you wouldn't be in slave labor.
Well, if only I could animate.
You'd still be wanting more money.
The show. Probably. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to a guy at work this week who used to work in the games industry.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've discovered an interesting YouTube series which I would recommend to our audience called "What Happened." If
Okay.
you WHA happens, but HAPPUN. What happened? And essentially, the creator of this series explores various disastrous video games and films and asks the question, "What happened?" And there was one on LA Noir, which I think we
Ah,
talked about not so long
yeah.
ago, and of a disastrous development cycle that took like 7, 8 years to make.
Hmm.
Um, Made up in Sydney by Team Bondo, and then they went out of business as soon as it was done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Still think it's a good game, but it sort of the little mini documentary sort of delves into why it took so long and
Mm.
what a miserable fucking experience it was for the people working on the game.
Oh yeah.
I will not say that the guy's name because I don't want to get sued. But he does pick on a particular person who's very well known in the industry for basically putting these guys under crunch conditions, evenings and weekends, for
Mm.
2 years.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You go, look, for this guy, he was very familiar because um, uh, he worked for a video games company, which again we won't mention. It kind of rhymes with V Bray, and he's not. He's very familiar with those conditions. He was sort of saying it's interesting how it's just par for the course in the games
Yeah.
industry, but you treat your staff like dog shit,
Yeah.
and you grind them into the dirt because you can always replace them tomorrow with some graduate kid who wants his first job.
Yeah.
Um, he's like, I don't think the film industry works like that. I don't think you can grind your staff into
No.
the dirt. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's true, but I suspect it might be.
It kind of is. The large part is because of unionization. Obviously, with all the actors' unions, writers' unions, things like that, they've got that protection.
Yeah,
Gaming unions.
you can't grind Tom Hardy into the ground and go, "You're coming in tomorrow." I don't care if you don't want to, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's one Tom Hardy,
Yeah.
so you can't just go down to Centrelink and go, "Could I get an incredibly charismatic, talented leading man like next week?" But youth rates.
Yeah.
You go,
You'll be able to find someone, and you could just quickly ask Uwe Boll, and he'll be able to pull out his little black book of like, oh, you want Tom Hardy, but you can't afford him. Okay, 1 second. To tease, yes, I've got plenty of other similes to Tom Hardy, way cheaper, off union. You're fine.
Don the Dragon Wilson hasn't worked since 1996. He'll do it for $50 and a couple of bags of Coke.
He's happy for just the pub lunch that you provide each day.
It's interesting. You're right, Darryl. We came to the same conclusion. It was maybe the unionization of the film industry that sort of protected people from being treated like dirt, which is probably a reason why the video games industry needs to be unionized. But I've never met a group of people who are more opposed to unions than IT people who sit there and go, "Oh, I don't need a union." And you have a breath of complaint about this kind of treatment. You're like, well,
it's one of those eternal struggles, and video games, as you said, do seem to be one of the very few high-profile industries where the concept of crunch, it's just part and parcel, and it's not as if like, oh, you're working 120-hour weeks for the last 2 years of the project's life cycle. You're sleeping under the office table where you're working. Oh, you'll get royalties off the back end of the sale of our 100 million selling product. No, you get your flat rate and you'll be pleased for that.
The interesting thing is they actually interviewed the guy behind Team Bondo, whose name I'm not mentioning. It was an IGN feature, a couple of years later, going about the history of the development. And they said to him, "What would you do differently if you were going to do it again?" He said the only thing he would do differently was he would reconsider making the game in Australia. Because, as he said, people in Australia feel like you can do this kind of thing without killing yourself, and you can't.
Okay.
That's a really interesting attitude, and not working in the industry, maybe he's right. Like that's a major, like, it should be a major stake in the heart of the video game industry. If that's what you need to do to deliver your product, then the industry's got some serious cultural issues.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understand it to a point, because you look at games that some of the biggest selling, most successful games of the last 10 years. And if you were to look into it, probably 99.9% of them have had extreme scenarios of horrible work culture in those last year and a half, 2 years of work. But everyone that I've ever heard talk about creating games is the product only really comes into focus in those last 2 years, and suddenly you go, oh fuck, that feature doesn't work properly when put in with the rest of the game, and it's broken everything else, and we need to work even harder. And they've worked so hard. As someone who invested years into writing my book, it's kind of, well, I'm not going to let it just die on the vine, because what the fuck is that about? The only major company that seems pretty good is Nintendo, because they have kind of mandated, oh, you'll work these hours, and they're notorious for going, yeah, we're not going to put a firm release date on any of our games, because it's probably not going to hit that, and we're okay with that. Everyone else just has to be.
They have a bit of a luxury though, aren't they? Because they develop their own games for their own hardware.
Well, Sony does it as well. They've got their first party studios. Xbox have got their first party studios, and it still happens in those industries. It's getting kind of better because there is more pressure than ever. But a lot of the third party stuff, like some of the stuff that you hear about, what went down at the game that I single-handedly killed of Anthem, the amount of stress and trouble that had right up until launch day and beyond. EA is notoriously bad. It's been voted worst company in the world ridiculous amount of times.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red for all their work.
I've heard they're pretty good with their staff as well.
Yeah, they seem to have better, but it's also they're in the Netherlands, I think, and the Netherlands is a very heavily unionized country. That whole part of the world is very unionized. So I wouldn't be surprised if they probably wouldn't be able to get away with it very well anyway. So yeah, there are extreme examples.
Work well over there. You're right. Europe seems to have a different working culture to the US and Australia.
But hey, look at that. We're talking about unions.
I don't work in a games industry. It was an interesting little conversation with somebody who used to work in an industry which you and I indirectly we are customers of that industry. So it's interesting to know where your game comes from. I wonder if that's going to be a push one day. Like it's that push today in certain parts of the world to know where your clothes come from, right? Or your diamonds. We buy diamonds so fucking often. But like you got to make sure your diamonds. People don't want their diamonds coming from conflict zones.
Yeah,
you have a whole lot of conflict diamonds or blood diamonds. Very faux pas. People like to make sure they like to sort of feel that their clothes are ethically sourced. Yeah. Like and not
ethically developed video games. It's the new hipster trend.
It's far fetched as you might think. Like a few years ago, all you need is a few years ago, like a particular brand. I think it was the Gap, or somebody actually it was a TV documentary where they went to some horrible factory in Southeast Asia where the children were making Gap clothes or something for 5 cents a day.
Yeah,
and it happened a few different times. And like celebrity clothing lines have been exposed to having children making them and stuff like that. And like all of a sudden, that company who makes the clothes are very, very interested about where their clothes come from because people, are scandalized by it. I don't know if it's really made a massive difference to people's lives who work in that industry, but is that maybe that could be something that could happen? That could be let's say, someone dies because they're crunching. And someone ends up passing away, and all of a sudden, all you need is something like that to hit the cultural zeitgeist. And all of a sudden, you're right, ethically made video games could be a thing, right? People might actually start to care about that.
Yeah, and that would be a way of kind of counteracting this perpetual argument of video games haven't changed their price in years. People love upping the price when it's organic or ethically sourced. And for obvious reasons, to get those certifications, it costs more. But if you got like Cyberpunk 2077, and it's like, this was an ethically produced product, like, okay, $100, fine, all right, cool, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'll support that good behavior.
I'm happy to take credit for creation of the slow games movement. Artisanally produced slow games.
I could just see the adverts. So like, you've experienced their products before, but not in a way like this. From the creators of Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 comes an all-new, ethically sourced, ethically produced, massive RPG.
You just have a picture of a farmer sitting at a computer coding.
No, it'd have to be a hipster, or it'd have to have a top knot.
Hipster guys who buys it. They want to buy the thing from a farmer. It's the guy in Bluntstones and a cowboy hat, type of coding things. Except there's a whole room of them coding stuff, and it could be like farm to PC, the farm to PC movement,
the farm to PC fresh.
It just writes itself. I gotta copyright some of his shit.
We've got so many ideas, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a miracle that we haven't been picked up yet. If anyone knows of anyone,
general lack of professionalism or preparation.
We are professionally unprofessional.
That's our shtick.
Now then, let's turn on to things that we know a little bit more about. And have you been watching The Mandalorian?
I caught the first 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to save. I figure I'll sign up for a week's free trial of Disney later, and I will just smash the other episodes because I think it's quite a short run, 6 or 7 episodes,
maybe 8. But yeah, it's a short run season.
But and I understand there's not a whole lot to write home about on Disney Plus right now. But
it's all nostalgia.
I've had the Disney stuff on stand for the last year, and I haven't watched any of it. I really, really, really liked the first episode.
Yeah.
That was probably a 10 out of 10 for me. I think the second episode was strong. That was probably a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Mm-hmm. The 2 combined, I probably enjoyed the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian more than any other Star Wars property since Return of the Jedi.
Interesting. That's not exactly a high bar, considering what I know of your opinions of all of those movies.
It's a bit like going, this is the best disease I've had since the Spanish flu. I mean, that Black Plague last year, what the fuck, you call that a... but it was true. I liked The Force Awakens though. After a few, I think it got better the second time I watched it. We did nitpick that it was just New Hope again, with different characters and better special effects. When you look at it too closely, maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a bit of fan service after George Lucas had stuck the boots in for 3 films in the prequels and gone, fuck you, Star Wars. This is what Star Wars is, and you'll like it if I tell you to. It was nice to be back with someone who was making films for the fans, which Abrams does well. So that I enjoyed that. I was the one person in the world who apparently didn't like Rogue One.
It seems that in the last couple of weeks, it seems that Rogue One and Solo have suddenly got this big upsurge of people going, you know what? It's really good, actually.
I've been a couple of years for Rogue One. I think people, I remember watching and going, for me, it kind of lost me in the first half hour because it was such a mess in the first half hour. I know they went out and they got, I think Paul Greengrass came in and cleaned it up. The original film Disney didn't like, and someone had to come in and fix it up. Might not have been him.
For Solo?
No, Rogue One.
Oh, for Rogue One? I don't know about Paul Greengrass.
I may be getting the name wrong, but someone came in and cleaned it up after Gareth Edwards had finished his cut, or had finished shooting, and I think he had to. I think it might have been Paul Greengrass. I could be mistaken, But they had to have someone come in and clean it up because
Yeah.
they weren't happy with it. And I think that first half hour of that film is pure Gareth Edwards, which is a shame because I quite like some of his earlier work. But it's a mess. And that film, that completely pulled me out of it. And I just couldn't recover from there. And the fact that, like, I just kind of felt like it was so predictable. But I met some people recently and I told them I didn't like it and they were horrified. How could you not like that film? It's so good. It's amazing. It's great. I'm like, I just didn't think it was that good. So, but the back to more contemporary points, The Mandalorian had the right feel for me. It just, have you seen the first couple episodes, or shall I not spoil it?
I've watched the first 3.
Okay.
And
So
honestly, this is a product I really don't care about being spoiled on anyway.
Fair enough. So spoilers for anybody who's listening and doesn't want to know anymore, turn off now and turn on later, of course. But that first, a lot of people I think I've spoken to sort of didn't like the comedic angle of that first scene, or the opening couple of scenes in The Mandalorian where
in the bar.
In the bar and sort of catching that the blue skinned guy and turning into carbonite and stuff. I thought that was brilliant. It had the right feel. Just the scene where he's on the speeder and he's like trying to get to the ship and there's big monsters coming out of the ice and trying to eat them and stuff. And I'm like, really kind of felt like old school Star Wars to me. And I liked, at least in the first episode, there wasn't any Jedi shit. I'm so fucking over the Jedi right now. Like, could they, it's all well and good to have a lightsaber, but it's like a penis. You don't need to freak it out and wave it around in everyone's faces. Stick it away. We don't need to know about you and your ancient superstitions. So I know in episode 2 we do meet, for want of a better term, Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And he does some jet shit. So I assume there's more coming, but I really enjoyed the vibe. It kind of just gave me the right feeling, the feeling of what old school Star Wars was. And and this is what I think the series has been lacking is, and what I was hoping for from Solo was, it's a giant universe they've created through the games and the films, and not the books now because they're not canon. But it's a giant universe they've built, and there's so many interesting stories you can tell in it. Right now, the Skywalker story is probably the least interesting one, and Disney's to blame for that. We didn't. It's not worth 9 films, but I know it's where the money is. But I like that they've had a pair of balls to go off and tell the story about a character who isn't necessarily a character, at least not yet, we've met in any of the films to date. And it's a character who's not a Jedi. He's not. Sorry?
I still think that whole flashback sequence of the Mandalorian remembering stuff as a child, it's all a lie. He's just watching another child go through that. The Mandalorian one day take the helmet off. It's a Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, God, that would be the greatest swerve in history. I don't know if Vince Russo is...
Crumb.
I don't know if Vince Russo is writing for Disney these days, but if he were, I'm sure that's something he might come up with.
There would be a lot more cuckolding in it if it was Vince Russo and Paul Heyman.
But so I'm taking it from your tone there that you are less impressed.
I think it is absolutely fine. It is entirely. It's the type of story that it is trying to tell. It is trying to be a kind of, especially with the inclusion of Baby Yoda, I get some Western cheap imitation variation vibes of Lone Wolf and Cub, or it's the man with no name, a fistful of dollars in Star Wars, which is kind of what it should have always been. So they're doing everything right. The production quality is good. The story is totally fine, but it's just absolutely further proof. And Baby Yoda is the cherry on the top of the cake for me to show they don't make Star Wars for me anymore. It's not at all. It's the whole show is designed to be, it's designed to look serious and look dangerous, but there's not actually any real vicious violence or anything like that happening. It is very kid friendly. It is perfect TV show for young kids to watch and feel like they're watching something that they shouldn't. It skirts that line where it looks
Isn't that
grimy.
exactly what they should be doing, though?
Exactly. And that's not what I want. I want more than just skin deep seriousness.
Isn't that what they've always done, though?
Exactly. I've just grown out of it.
Fair
That's my
enough.
point. I've grown out of it. They're not making Star Wars for me anymore. The Last Jedi, that really spoke to me because he was trying something different, and I'm at a point where I want them to try different things with Star Wars. It's not what everyone else wants. That's fine. But the rest of this, the rest of the apology Star Wars product, they're very true to the original Star Wars stuff. I've just developed past that, and I'm not going to hold it against anyone who likes it. It's just very clearly not for me anymore, and that's fine.
I think Star Wars has always been for a younger audience.
Yeah.
I guess I pay it. What it's selling me is nostalgia. In a sense, it's selling me a feeling I haven't had for a very long time. It's selling me a memory. So I did, as soon as I saw Baby Yoda, I texted a friend of mine and said, merchandising, merchandising, merchandising. And,
It's so true.
Baby Yoda of a lunchbox.
There'll
And
be
I reckon
everything.
within 24, I said, they are going to fucking exploit the shit out of that character. Like, what the first thing it reminded me of? Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. And I reckon within about 2 days of seeing Guardians of the Galaxy, what would have been Volume 2 with Baby Groot, or was
Volume
it the
1
first
at
one?
the end of it.
Like, within 48 hours, I was seeing people on the internet selling homemade Baby Groots before Baby Groot was on every fucking T-shirt.
Yep.
And from there, it just went on and on. Like, I reckon, again, within about 2 days, I was seeing, T-shirts with Baby Yoda on them. Now, like, Baby Yoda plushie. Baby, for fuck's sake. I'm like, look, I mean, I can't complain too much because, a fair chunk of the original trilogy were made to sell toys.
Yeah.
That's where George made his money, was he got the toy rights, the toy money the first time around. So, look, I mean, if you like Star Wars, there's a very good chance you like it. So I guess it's interesting dichotomy there. If you really liked what Rian Johnson was trying to do in The Last Jedi and felt he came close to succeeding like George does, maybe you're not in the right mindset for something like The Mandalorian. If you like myself, felt that while I'm open to new things, felt that Rian Johnson's new thing was very, very wrong. For the most part, then maybe this is maybe something more you might enjoy, yours if you're not. At least check it out. I mean, if you get yourself a free trial on Disney Plus, check it out. Then cancel if it sucks, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely a good quality show that it's just not made for me, which there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Most people will probably really enjoy it. They'll probably kind of enjoy it as like I did. I enjoyed it, but I haven't really thought about it since. It just made me kind of go, oh, you know what? Yeah, I would love a live action Lone Wolf and Cub manga remake. That would be fucking awesome. But that's not going to happen for a while.
Fan reaction's good. It's got a 9.1 on IMDb at the moment. So it's everyone I've spoken to has really enjoyed it so far. So I guess we'd have to put this one on the hit category for Disney and the Star Wars.
And it's the perfect prelude to the finale of the Skywalker saga. Oh, how convenient that is for them.
Thoroughly not excited about.
I'm really not interested. It looks absolutely fine in the same way that the Force Awakens looked absolutely fine. I think it's going to be a fine film. It's going to make plenty of money. Again, I'm just not interested.
It's obviously lost you somewhere along the way, as you say. They are going to make this film friendly for the widest possible audience, and
of course,
for me, I guess I went into The Force Awakens with that feeling of who's that guy in the mask, what's going on, where does the story go from here, and felt for the most part they kind of hit most of those marks, and JJ he understood filmmaking well enough to ask a bunch of questions, leave them unanswered, and then something went very, very wrong.
Well, they didn't have a plan for the rest of the movies.
Exactly. That's what it feels like. Either they didn't have a plan, and JJ just went, all right, then, job done. See you later. Ryan, I think Gareth Edwards, he was going to, someone else too. Colin Trevorrow had the third one originally.
Trevorrow, yeah.
And so, like, okay, Ryan, Colin, good luck, blokes. See you later. I'm taking my millions of dollars and going to go sleep with underwear models. You know, it's like, yeah, you're right. Or he did have a plan. They gave it to Ryan and said, you know, it's up to you if you want to collar this or not. And Ryan went, yeah, no, it'll be fine. I'll just do my thing. This is boring. So either they didn't have one or they ignored it. And then the second one's gone, yeah, that stuff we were really, really interested in finding out about, forget about it. It's nothing. You know, which just kind of felt very disjointed. And aside from
even if that was the case of them saying to Ryan, yeah, take it or leave it, that's bad upper management. That's the reason why the MCU has been successful, is because they've had one person who they've had these different directors in. So like, come in, put your flavor on it, but you're following these rules. Boom.
I keep thinking back to that room at your place in Maribyrnong where you had your post-it notes, your arc of your stories all on the wall.
Yeah.
So you've got books in your head that haven't been written yet, but you know where your story's going.
Yeah. They deviate a little, but I know exactly how to bring them back, and that's
never broad strokes.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to go down to the minutiae yet of whether this bloke's got blonde hair or red hair. You can get to that, but you've got the broad strokes on your wall. You know where you got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you know what kind of wants to happen along the way. I can't believe that they didn't have that. Yeah. Surely they must have had that on a whiteboard somewhere. Maybe someone wiped it off and they thought they'd put permanent marker on, and they wiped it off and oh shit, it's gone. But I have to believe they had some sort of idea set up, and then they gave it to Ryan Johnson, who said, no, I want to do my own thing. We thought that was what people wanted, because we were all, if any criticism was leveled at The Force Awakens, as we said earlier, it was, you know, it's good, but it's more of the same. Maybe it's time for something a bit different. And I think I did say that. And unfortunately, that was probably, maybe they should have said, yes, you could do something different, Ryan, but within this story arc.
In this frame rate.
Here's a story. Do whatever you want in the middle of that, but this is the beats we want the film to hit, and this is where we want to happen, and yada yada yada. But obviously, they didn't do that, and so that was a disjoining thing. So that was really what really pulled me out of the series. And the last one was like they set up some cool questions, which is fine, which is what I want from it. I want, you know, and you go, whoa, what's going to happen in the second one? Who's Rey's parents? Who are the Knights of what's Knights of Rey or whatever it was, and you know. And they're nothing. They're nobody. It's nothing. They're not appearing. Snoke's dead. And you know, and you know all the other things that people complain about that film. So that's really made me fond of this last one. Now I'm looking at this going, I don't even really remember what happened in the last one, except that Luke Skywalker died, which is dumb. And I don't care what happens to these people anymore. You've lost me.
Well, that's the thing. Just on a pure basic narrative storytelling manner, The Force Awakens was a perfect movie for launching a new trilogy. It introduced interesting characters that were likable, and there were enough, as you say, unanswered questions at the end, enough hooks to lead on. And there would have been sort of like, if JJ had this story plan going through, the second one would have got darker, just like the original trilogy did, where you get introduced to the Knights of Ren and all that sort of stuff. And then the third one is the payoff movie, like Return of the Jedi, where it's all on the line, like fucking Endgame for Avengers. It's all that payoff goodness. But then you suddenly have Rian Johnson come in and go, nope, I am able to sell the producers of Star Wars, one of the biggest fucking brand names in the world, of my idea. Okay, cool. It completely does away with that system. And then you get J.J. Abrams come back for the third one. So like, oh, well, okay, I'm going to try and pick up all those threads that he ignored for a third one. It's like, okay, this is probably going to be quite an oddly compacted movie where he's going to have some story threads that would have better fitted in a second film rather than all in one big third movie.
Maybe they're just going to retcon the second film. You know, he's going to turn up at the Mark Hamill's just going to turn up at the start of the film, break the fourth wall, and go, "A wizard did it."
That'll happen when the petition for remake season 8 of Game of Thrones gets put through and they actually do it
and release the Snyder Cut.
I think that's actually fairly likely now. I really think that
talking about it a bit this week. I didn't think it actually existed, but he seems to think it does.
Yep.
He would know, surely. He would know. I would see that though. I am not one of these people tweeting about it because I don't care enough about Justice League to actually tweet about Justice League. But I would totally watch the Snyder Cut and just out of pure curiosity and give that man a chance to see what he actually meant for that film to look like.
The amount of kind of abandoned DC superhero movie scripts and things like that, or like full start projects and issues like the Justice League where it gets halfway through. I would love Warner Brothers and DC to just go, you know what? Fuck it. Let's actually just make these as animated movies. I would love to see a version of George Miller's Justice League with like when they had Armie Hammer and all of that stuff. That story was apparently fucking cool. To see a complete version of Zack Snyder's idea for what Justice League would be, and then Justice League Part 2, what he had planned for that would be fucking cool. There was an amazing script I read online called Supermax, and it was a dark, gritty, serious superhero movie for the Green Arrow. And this was bandying around before Batman Begins. And it was Green Arrow in the Supermax prison, and he was trying to break out, and he was just surrounded by all these bad guys. It was a fucking brilliant script. It's like, just make it an animation or something so you don't have to worry about, oh, that actor's not old enough, they're too old now to play the part. There are a plethora of wonderful voice actors and amazing producers, and it doesn't even need to be a cinematic release. It can go on to the WB network and go on to Netflix or Amazon or wherever, and people would watch it for morbid curiosity and because people love watching superhero stuff, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Like Jonah Hex is actually doing rather good viewing on fucking Netflix, and it's fucking awful.
Oh, it is bad. It's a cool idea though. When you read the source material, when you read the actual Wikipedia page of what the comic book was about, you're like, that's awesome. That is fucking cool. I would love to watch that movie. And when you watch it, you're like, oh.
I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, they made a mess of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. It's it was, I think at one point when they made the Superman Lives, What Happened documentary, I think at one point they were actually trying to get a GoFundMe or a petition or something up to get that film made as an animated film. But they did film some scenes for the documentary. You know, not really high production value, but they actually shot some sort of, you know, faux scenes of what the film might have looked like in the doco. And you just even those really crappily, cheaply made ones, you're like, I think it would have been a cool story. I mean, who wouldn't want to see a Tim Burton Superman script made into something? I mean, even the Crazy Suit, right? Like, shit. I mean, Bryan Singer used to diss the shit out of it, but at least he didn't film. His film didn't do a whole lot better. So, you know, you can't talk.
Yeah.
Speaking of superheroes, have you been following the news of the Batman?
Following it a little bit.
We've got a pretty cast is getting filled up. You know, we've got a Commissioner Gordon. We've got a Carmine Falcone. Apparently, we've cast a Riddler and a Catwoman, and maybe a Penguin.
Okay. What's the cast looking like? Who have they got?
So obviously, we've got Shovelface Pattinson playing Batman. We've got Zoe Kravitz has been apparently, and this is all inverted commas, apparently, the rumor is, has been cast apparently as Catwoman.
Interesting choice.
interesting choice. There is obviously significant heritage of an African American Catwoman, um, both in Halle Berry and in the TV show with
Yep.
the kid. So racists can fuck right off. Paul Dano, he'll be playing the Riddler.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's not a name, but instantly casts a face. I'm just going to Google him now
He
because I feel like it's
was
one of those guys.
in There Will Be Blood as the young priest. He was in Little Miss Sunshine as the guy who wouldn't speak and was obsessed with Nietzsche. He's
Yeah, okay. I know his face. I could trip over him in the street, but I know that face. I've seen him in stuff.
He's
He'd
a
be one
good
of those
actor.
guys. Like, oh, he's that guy. And apparently, at one point, Jonah Hill was in discussions to be playing the Riddler, but walked away. So, and Colin Farrell is apparently going to be playing the Penguin.
Interesting.
An interesting choice. And Andy Serkis apparently is fairly solid to be playing Alfred, which I do not like.
I know that seems like a very unusual, because you think of all of the major Alfred characters, all of them have been kind of your stoic, typical British butler, manservant. Then in Gotham, you've got Sean Pertwee bringing a bit more of the London boy into it, but still very much prim and proper. Andy Serkis makes unusual choices. So it's going to be very odd.
This, right?
Mm.
Which is sort of a James Bondian sort of figure.
Yeah. So he's a very good character actor. So I have a good bit of faith in Andy Serkis and his abilities. It's a very unusual cast. It's going to be odd to see them all working together.
Not knocking Andy Serkis. Not knocking Andy. Andy is a fantastic actor in most things he's in. Even obviously his body capture work is what he's best known for, and even stuff when he's actually doing live action things, you're like, no problem with him. I just do not see him as. For me, my favorite Alfred. Like I really enjoyed I don't forget the character's name. The guy who played Alfred in the Tim Burton films. But
Michael Gough.
he was, yes, the older sort of patrician Alfred. But I also really enjoyed Michael Caine in the Nolan films, and that wouldn't have been the fascinating prequel to see Michael Caine's Pennyworth. That would be. I mean, I guess maybe that's kind of what the TV show's trying to do, but. He talked about, serving in the British Army in Borneo and that great scene in The Dark Knight and stuff. But he felt like Michael Caine's Alfred had an edge. Where, he might look like a patrician old butler, but he could take you apart if he wanted to. Like he wasn't.
He thought his character was always consideration, and like even the joke bit in Batman Begins where he knocks one of Ra's al Ghul's guys out and he's like, I hope you're not with the fire department. It's like he took down a hired gun with one hit and was still kind of going, yeah, I hope you're not here to help, but fuck you anyway.
He wasn't to be fucked with, but and I didn't really think we got to see enough of Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I liked the idea. I liked the little bit that he had to do. I think we can file him along with Batfleck as being a major disappointment, not because of what they did, is because of what they didn't get to do.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
But we didn't get a solo Batfleck film with Jeremy Irons. Super disappointed because I know everyone questioned that decision at the time, but for me, I think he was. I've said it many times. He was the real saving grace for me of Dawn of Justice, and he didn't get a lot to do. I didn't like what they did with him in Justice League, but I still liked. Now you could still see the great Batman in there. You just felt like this script's holding him back. This script isn't giving him enough to work with. It's just sort of sitting there on the side and looking cool. But anyway, it's another story. But the other tips in here, John Turturro will be playing Carmine Falcone.
Okay,
a fine choice there, I think. And there is this is purely speculative, but apparently Vincent D'Onofrio retweeted a Matt Reeves tweet about Zoe Kravitz's casting. So that's got some people speculating about whether Vincent D'Onofrio is involved. Now, if Vincent D'Onofrio is involved, color me excited. I love Vincent D'Onofrio. I think he's an amazing actor.
It'd be
The article I'm
interesting
reading
to
here
take on another role.
The article here says, and this is pure speculation, is that he wouldn't make a bad Bane.
Oh, no, he would make a bad Bane. He would make an awful Bane. That would just not be any good, especially considering how pitch perfect he got Kingpin.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a bit of a leak considering he's already so recently played a fairly memorable comic book film. But that, as I said, that is purely just based on him retweeting someone, so that could be nothing. The one thing that's worrying me here, superhero films with multiple villains teaming up or being involved in the story that aren't shit. It's a short list. I can't think of too many, right? Usually you've got a central, like I'm thinking Spider-Man 3. I'm thinking Batman and Robin. Batman Forever was okay, I guess, but we had the Riddler and
it got over the finish line.
It was all right. But if we've got the Riddler and the Penguin, who knows what Catwoman's going to be doing in there? You know, is she bad? Should she be a villain, or would she be more your Anne Hathaway style anti-hero? Who really knows? But we'll wait and see. Matt Reeves has done some good things.
Yeah, it just sounds very busy. Introducing people to a new Batman, to all these new actors in iconic roles. It seems like a lot to be going on. I worry if they're going to end up kind of doing like Aquaman and having too many plates, and it gets there, but it's like you could have done with cutting out this bit and that bit of that character. Yeah. I feel like if they're doing a younger Batman, they should do it just a nice, simple Batman story. Easy.
I think they need to go back to basics a little bit, and maybe I'm certain we don't need to see Batman's parents being killed again.
Guarantee it happens.
I guarantee it will happen, but we don't need to see that. Yeah. But I mean, I think you need to look back at Batman Begins. That was a good way of reintroducing a character who we already knew. But like, maybe you don't need to go exactly the same way, but I think you need to start somewhere. And yeah, even if he's already Batman at that point in time, you can maybe make that safe assumption. But yeah, look, I mean, it's a lot of story to tell. It's a lot of people to introduce us to, and I just don't think you need to have, as you sort of said, a bit of clarity, a bit simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Right? You can have your multiple villain team up later. You know?
It's fucking Batman. You're gonna and your Warner Brothers. You're gonna be signing all of these people to probably 2, if not 3 movie deals. And considering that they went ahead with the Suicide Squad 2, and the fact that they are going on with the Harley Quinn movie, and they've had this phenomenal success of the Joker movie, they are going to be looking at every single one of those villains and going, can that be a standalone movie? Can they have a bad guys team up movie? They are going to want to get those people involved. So, maybe these are just kind of cameo spots, and Paul Dano's not actually going to be the Riddler. He's going to be Edward Nygma, and he becomes the Riddler in a post-credit sequence or something like that. But
you know what they could do? Batman could steal someone's laptop, and he could just be looking at little QuickTime file videos of all these different villains doing shit, and just be setting it up for the next film.
Hey, that would be. It works, man. It works.
That would be really cool.
It's a more reliable way of storytelling than anything that David Ayers did with Suicide Squad.
That little security footage of the Riddler doing Riddler shit, and then Catwoman doing Catwoman shit.
That would be the file as well. It was filed called Riddler shit. Strangely, there's one of him in the bath.
It used to be Riddler sitting on his couch with a remote going click, click. Oh, this is shit. This is click. But you see season of Game of Thrones sucks.
Or he's just sitting there kind of with a notepad. So right, I got to work out some new riddles. Because I need to have, I'm leading Batman on this cat and mouse game. He's got to answer. He's going to answer a few. I need to have a few, and all right. And he's just brainstorming riddles.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see him at his laptop googling evil riddle ideas.
Cue the cat hitting the keyboard gif.
Evil, evil riddles monthly. They're not as good as they used to be. This is all gold. They're welcome to it. I would love to see it on the big screen. I just love to see Batman come back. So I'll be curious to see it when it comes out. We see films we don't like quite regularly because we feel like we should.
Speaking of lower class movies, Shay and I went to go and see Terminator Dark Fate the other day.
Was it worth the trip?
I worked out exactly what kind of movie it is. It is, for the Terminator franchise, what the 2009 Star Trek movie reboot was. It was a soft reboot with basically all the same characters you know and love, with enough connective tissue of, getting the original Leonard Nimoy to cameo. That's your Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in, but telling pretty much a similar kind of story to what you've already seen and heard. But with enough freshness and nice updated visuals and a fairly good pace and, perfectly competent story. It's a good reboot of the Transformers Terminator franchise, but unfortunately, you're not really going to see anything more because it didn't make enough money.
Yeah, it tanked.
Yeah.
All reviews I heard said it was pretty good. That was the difference this time, is the reviews were fairly positive.
Yeah.
What really put me off this time is it's I've been abused by this franchise for long enough. Terminator 3, the Salvation,
and Genesis.
You're like, so you're giving me 3 piles of garbage and tried to tell me it was haute cuisine. I don't care how good the reviews are this time. You're not getting my money. I don't care if you're going to wheel out James Cameron to say it's good, because you've wheeled out James Cameron to say it's good a couple of times now. I'm pretty sure he came out and he said Genesis and Salvation were good too. Yeah. So he's got about as much credibility as Kevin Smith does on DC films, because Kevin always says they're good. I love Kevin, but he says they're good every time when they're quite obviously not. So... and I'm not going to trust James's word on this one either. So maybe I'll see if it pops up on Netflix or something one day. But honestly, I'm not particularly sad that it tanked. I'm kind of happy it tanked. I wonder if we're starting to get to the point now, end of the age where the reboot, sequel, prequel thing is starting to wear a little thin.
No.
Or at least where you can't just rely purely on brand. If you're churning out garbage for long enough, people will start to no longer trust the brand.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major problems with this, is because, as you said, it's had pretty positive reviews and everyone who's gone to see it has generally enjoyed it, but not enough people are going to see it, because when you look at the franchise, you had Terminator 1, a fucking classic, Terminator 2, one of the few sequels that outdid the first. Terminator 3, poor to middling at best. Terminator Salvation, some interesting ideas, not told well, not told with a competent enough director, and far too many in production problems to ever be able to make it go on. Then Terminator Genesis, the fact that they ruined the twist in the fucking trailer. That's just the cardinal sin. And it's like, it's only been maybe 5 years since Terminator Genesis. So we've got 5 movies at this point. 3 of them are below good, comfortably below good, and 2 of them are fantastic. Who's going to go back for a 6th and go, there's a 60% chance that this is shit, but hey, I'll roll the dice on that? No.
It's interesting. It's I've been thinking about this sometimes. Whenever you watch a video about Fallout 76 or whenever Bethesda does something new that's shitty to their customers with that game, and you sort of go, did Bethesda not realize the dump they're taking on their brand? Like,
Yeah.
I reckon just over a year ago, Bethesda were held in a pretty high regard. Pretty esteemed brand, Bethesda. Like, you would look forward to the new Bethesda game. You'd see that brand at the front of the game, be like, this is probably going to be pretty good.
Yep.
Now they've completely trashed their brand, completely trashed it. Like, I don't know I don't understand how they think that the money they've made, which on Fallout 76, how much can it really be? It hasn't done that well. Like, how much is your brand worth versus how much you're going to make off this game? Someone's going to make that calculation. And unless that game's GTA 5, it ain't going to be worth what your brand's worth, right? Because the next one that came out, Rage 2 came out. I think that didn't do very well.
Yeah.
Surely the Elder Scrolls brand is going to get that one across the line. And this is a Doom brand. But everyone's going to be keeping an eye on them, right? They've taken a giant chunk out of their brand because of what they've done. So I think, hopefully, what I'm hoping here is happening is the studios now, if they're going to see, the Aliens brand, is that dead? It probably should be. The Terminator brand, he should be pretty much dead, stone cold for now. Yeah? The Charlie's Angels brand, after what happened in this last couple of weeks, that is dead.
The Charlie's Angels brand, in my opinion, was never very good anyway. At least the MCG 2 from the early 2000s were bad fun. You could just watch them and say, like, yeah, I know this is trash, and it's trying to be trash, so it's doing the job. It's not a good movie. It's not a good idea. It's anyone who feels that that's anti-feminist or whatever. It's nothing to do with the fact that they're women. It's the fact that it's a really shit idea, and there are so many better stories that could be told for empowered female roles. And Elizabeth Banks came out and said, like, oh, this is just cementing that men don't go out and see women-led superhero movies. And it's like, Wonder Woman, yeah, kind of did really well. Lucy, the fucking out of nowhere new property with Scarlett Johansson, did really well. The trailer for Black Widow dropped the other day, and people are going crazy for it. You made a bad movie.
It's the same thing they said about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Oh, you hate this because they're women. No, I hated it because it sucked.
Yeah.
And I didn't laugh once. I'm sorry, I laughed at one time at the start of the film. It was one joke that made me laugh.
Yep.
Then we'll see what happens with the new Ghostbusters film. Apparently, that trailer's dropping this week as well.
Yeah. But going back to your point, I don't think we're remotely at that, because you just look at Star Wars. We were talking about it before, and after the Last Jedi and after Solo, how people hated those movies when they first came out, and the Rise of Skywalker trailers are seemingly doing the job they need to, and the good buzz that's coming off of Mandalorian. People are fucking buzzed for Star Wars again, when only 2 years ago they were saying, no, I'm over Star Wars. I'm done with Star Wars. It's all the fucking same. People do it all the fucking time with EA games as well. So like, oh, I'm not going to buy an EA game, and then fucking FIFA, the new FIFA is number one bestseller at the end of the year. And people talk the fucking talk, and then they get that urge. They buy into the hype of sort of like, oh yeah, it's new, it's great, and they'll buy it, they'll love it for a week, and then they'll hate it, and then the cycle will continue.
True. I think though, The Mandalorian has helped, but if whatever the new film is called again, The Last Skywalker or
Rise of Skywalker,
whatever. See, I don't even care what it's called. Whatever the new film is if it's not very good, they're in a dangerous place again, right? I mean, I think people want to like the new Star Wars film because it's probably held in an even higher regard than, I think the Terminator brand has cachet.
Yeah.
But Star Wars is the gold standard of brands, right? Like, every brand some brands have more capital to spend. Like if you are a really highly regarded brand, if you're a Coca-Cola, you
Mm.
have significantly more social capital than, I don't know, Pizza Hut. So
Yeah.
people love Coke. It would take a lot to drive people away from drinking Coca-Cola. So, I think people love Star Wars a lot more than they loved Terminator. It's
Oh
held
yeah.
in much higher regard, and it's much more important to people. So, true, people are still in a headspace where they want to like it. But if the Rise of Skywalker is crap, and who knows what comes next after that, I don't know. Are any of the movies actually being made at the moment? I think is the
There's an Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan show.
Kenobi series, I
That's
think.
about it, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of it in development because the guys who did Game of Thrones, they're no longer making their Star Wars one.
Ryan
Um,
Johnson trilogies are still happening. Who knows?
I don't know. It may have been canned. It may not have been canned. Who fucking knows? Who really
I
cares?
think it needs a rest. I think a rest would do it good after
That's
this.
the key. That's the key. There's a proper amount of time that it's like I think that the fact that like Marvel movies have, aside from Endgame, I don't think they've had. Have they had another movie this year?
Who's that? Sorry, Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
No, the last one was Spider-Man.
Yeah, so they've really backed off this year to just give a bit of a breather. They say, "Oh yeah, it's to put an end point on the the Thanos saga." It's like, yes, that's very true, and it's very smart that you are giving people a breather. And just at that point where people are kind of going, "Oh, I want to know what's coming next," boom, they've got their next movie ready to go. Black Widow. Ah, look at this. It's nice. This is what I want from my Marvel movies.
I think the people who are behind the Marvel films. It's surprising. I think did I read they were going to shift Kevin Feige over into Star Wars? I
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
that
I
was a
did,
rumor at least.
but I mean, they'd be smart to do at least have him in some sort of mentoring role because I don't know if it's him, but someone down at the Marvel division gets it.
Mm.
They just get the appetite right. After Endgame, we were exhausted. Not not so exhausted. The Spider-Man film felt fresh enough,
Hmm.
and a little bit of time there, but it was fine.
Yeah,
But they were cognizant to go. That's going to be it for at least 8-9 months and then that's going to be done. We'll get to what is it, March I think next year for Black Widow or something like
yeah. I
that.
think
But
I think it's March, and certainly the next kind of year, 2020. I think there may be 2 or 3 movies and 2 or 3 TV shows. And this is where it's going to get interesting because they're kind of saying, "Oh yeah, the TV shows are going to be much more involved in the overall storytelling of the MCU compared to the Netflix ones or Agents of Shield or the Inhumans." And like, wow, okay, that's a lot of fucking content that you have to watch if you want to stay up to date, or you are putting a lot of pressure on the writers and directors of those movies that anything that happens of value in the TV shows that has ramifications in the movies, you've got to explain that for people who just want to watch the movies.
surely they won't. Surely it'll be like Agents of Shield, where stuff from the movies, the occasional star from one of the lower stars in the movies makes a cameo in the TV show, but nothing of actual note particularly happens. Because, I mean, I know people who were like, I think it was in Rogue One, there were characters in that who were in the cartoons, and you're like,
Yeah,
no one watches the freaking cartoons except children, you
yeah.
know. So you can't be introducing people on TV.
Oh, it's
As
not a matter of introducing them, but they made this promise when Agents of Shield came out that it was going to be very integral to the storytelling, and the fact that they managed to coordinate the reveal of Hydra being Shield with Agents of Shield, that worked really well, but they never ever once got remotely close to matching that again. And that makes a lot of sense because it was being produced under a different banner. I think it's all going to be under the same kind of umbrella of production companies. So maybe they'll try again and try bigger, but I think ultimately it's going to be a lot of hot air being blown. But Who knows?
It is. It's it's I said I feel like they get it right in ways at the Star Wars zone. But
Yeah.
I guess back to my central thesis, I don't know, but I do hope we're entering a world where they're starting to fit that studios are starting to feel like there are consequences to treating their audiences like idiots. And sure, it may not be reaching the heights of a Star Wars world just yet, but it's kicking asses in some of the middle of the road franchises now are bombing. And
Yeah.
they're losing a lot of money in these films. And I think hopefully that's selling them a few things. That one, you can't take your audience for granted. You can't just say, well, we'll make all our money back in China, and that potentially they might be an appetite out there for original ideas. Who knows?
I think the financial and global success of Joker has partnering that with the success of Deadpool has really put a big interesting question mark over Marvel properties and DC properties and Warner Brothers properties and any of the old Fox properties like Alien and Predator and all of those sorts of things. Because when something is properly, when you get the right people involved, the age rating on that movie doesn't make a difference, because Deadpool, Deadpool 2, Joker, R-rated movies that made fuck tons of money, and there's money in those harder rated movies. And if Disney, now that they own all the Fox stuff, went, okay, you know what? Let's go back and let's tell an alien story. And you get like Neil Blomkamp came along and had all those really cool ideas for his continuation of the Alien saga. He seems to really love that saga. If he was brought in and they got other people involved that were just huge fucking fans, and they were told, okay, you've got 90 million to make this movie, whatever rating you need, we'll be able to sell it. That's fucking awesome. And it gives other people, it gives a bit of a variety, because so much stuff now is just, oh yeah, PG-13, that's enough. And it just feels very sanitized.
It's true. I know Neil got the ass when Ridley Scott decided he wanted to jump back in. And I think that's been probably a poor decision in hindsight, but you can see why they made it.
Being able to get Ridley Scott back, come on.
Yeah, you're not going to say no to that. But
I think Ridley Scott coming back for Prometheus and Covenant is the kind of extreme example of what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. Of, yeah, got this franchise everyone knows about, I'm going to throw it all out. I think Rian Johnson's Last Jedi spin of let's do something different was infinitely more successful compared to what they made in Prometheus and Covenant.
Absolutely. Well, there was nothing successful about those films. I don't know if they made money, but artistically, I thought that. Oh, sorry, Teller. I really like Michael Fassbender's robot character. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, David.
That's a lot of talking tonight about not very much as usual.
Yeah.
So we're saying kind of thumbs up from a George on The Mandalorian. Definite thumbs up from me.
Yep.
Kind of thumbs up on Dark Fate, I'm feeling. So if you can find it at the cinema still, check it out. Otherwise, keep an eye out for it. I'm sure it'll be on DVD or a streaming service or somewhere.
It won't be long before it streams.
You'll be able to see it digitally before too long.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I'll talk about this week is a few weeks ago, the last time we talked, I was talking a little about Years and Years.
Oh, that's right.
The British TV show. I just watched the final episode tonight. So
yeah.
It's a 6-part series. It is excellent.
Okay.
The only thing to say is the last episode was a bit meh, but on the whole, if you like your Black Mirrors, if you like, say, Humans, which is another British sci-fi series, which I talked about in the show a couple of years ago, I think you'll quite enjoy Years and Years. It is very pessimistic, but it's a warning from our future history. actually really resonated with me. But it was compulsive viewing for me and everyone I've recommended it to.
Hmm.
Just a
Okay.
weak last episode, but I'm not going to let that get me down. There are some moments in there you're like, that's awesome, or that's full on.
Hmm.
It really was well made, and I really hope they don't remake it in America. Um, the only other thing I will say is this week I've been watching the latest season of The Crown,
Oh yeah.
season 3
Uh-huh.
of The Crown, the most expensive television show ever made. Um, every episode costs multi-million dollars. We have a new queen in this series. This is set, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years after the last series.
Yeah.
And Claire Foy is no more. The
Okay.
queen is now played by Olivia Colman.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and Matt Smith is also gone. He has been replaced as Prince Philip, and I don't remember the actor who plays him, but he does look very familiar. Um, and
Bias Mendes.
Yeah, he could be. He looks familiar, but I don't know where I know him from. He was in Casino Royale. Yeah, no, I don't know. He looks
Oh
familiar.
yeah, he does seem familiar.
He's got one of those. He's in stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
He's like one of those faces. You know, that guy. He was in Game
Yeah.
of Thrones. Everyone's in Game of Thrones. Everyone in England got a role. You shouldn't have left when you did. You would have got a role in Game of Thrones. Yeah, it was in the Constitution. Even the fucking Magna
I
Carta.
wouldn't I probably would have been sort of like a stable hand 4 with no words because I don't have a northern accent.
Can you do one?
I can, but if you ask a northerner, I can't.
Okay. My personal favorite in any series is Helena Bonham Carter as
Oh yeah.
Princess Margaret. She just at her best. I can't believe someone as acclaimed and accomplished as Helena Bonham Carter is in a fairly supporting role.
Hmm.
So I was a bit like, oh, okay, I'm a bit disappointed because I really, really liked Claire Foy as Queen Elizabeth. Thought she was amazing. Really, just grabbed that character and was what really lived it. Um, Olivia Colman's another one of those actresses where you go, yeah, I've seen her and stuff. The only thing I could actually place her in that I know I've seen her in is in Hot Fuzz. But otherwise, I've probably seen her in other stuff. She's a very prolific actress. I was a bit like, I was just getting used to Claire. I'm not sure about this, but 3 episodes in, I'm back. I'm hooked. It's
Yeah.
every bit as wonderful as the first 2 seasons. People are often surprised because I'm actually no fan of the monarchy, politically speaking. But it's just so well made. It looks beautiful. The
Mm.
stories are well written. The acting is top notch, and they take interesting little things. Like apparently, you can track the episodes on Wikipedia, where people are actually googling the stuff that happens in the episode, going, "Did the Queen really meet Idi Amin?" And stuff like that. Yeah. And like I find myself doing the same thing because I guess it's from 50, 60 years ago in
Yeah.
Britain, and I wasn't alive. So like stuff happens, and you'd be like, "Huh, I had no idea that ever happened. That's cool." And you see on Wikipedia, and you end up reading a Wikipedia article about whatever the thing was that this week's episode's about. So yeah, it's like if you like the first 2 seasons, you'll like this one. A few people told me they've been hanging off because they don't like the Queen, and I'm like, that's the dumbest fucking reason I've ever heard to not watch a film is because you don't like the person it's about, right? Like, I don't like Hitler either. Does that mean I'm not going to watch Inglourious Bastards? Like, I mean, it's a stupid idea, but it's really great historical drama.
Good. I'm glad something out of my country is doing well.
Well, many things. There's 2 things. Years and Years is British. The Crown is British. There's lots of good stuff coming out of the UK. We got a new James Bond film. James Bond trailer just dropped last night.
Yep.
And
Looks
I
like
can
a
tell how
very James Bond trailer for a James Bond movie.
I know a lot of people are like, whoa, cool. I'm like, did we watch the same trailer?
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing that happens in every James Bond trailer.
Yeah. I still really every time I see Daniel Craig as James Bond after Casino Royale, I just look at him and I look in his eyes and I see he's telling me, get me out of this fucking role. He just does not look like he is interested whatsoever.
I had to think real hard when I'm like this one, and he's doing James Bond stuff, and I'm like, what was the last one of these? Was it Quantum of Solace? Was Quantum of Solace the last one of these? Which one was the last one? I'm like, was it Sky? No, that was that Skyfall movie that everybody else loved that I hated. Okay, right, it wasn't Skyfall. I'm sure there's been once in Skyfall. Oh, it's Christoph Waltz. He was in it.
Yeah.
What was it called again? Oh, there was that Radiohead song that they didn't use for it. They used Sam Smith instead. It was called Spectre. That's what it was. It was called Spectre. It took me about 30 seconds of a trailer to go, what was the last change? And it was the only reason, the only reason I could remember what it was called is because there was a Radiohead released their unused song. It was called, and I thought it was a lot better than the Sam Smith song. And I was like, it was called Spectre. That's right, it was Spectre. Yeah. That's the organization that Christoph Waltz is the head of.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I saw that film. I have absolutely no memory of what happens. I think Dave Bautista was in it.
Yeah, he played Mr. Hinks.
He didn't say anything, right? I think
No.
he had like no lines. He just gets thrown off a train or something.
Yeah, he was. I remember the publicity around it. It's like, Mr. Hinks is kind of the sort of character that you had with Jaws, and those really tough, silent guys. It's like, okay, so pointless then. And yes, he was.
And very pointless. So I have more. It's coming back to me. I'm like, other than that, I really have absolutely no memory of Spectre. So it must have been pretty inoffensive. I'm the weird one. I liked Pierce Brosnan's James Bond because it was kind of tongue in cheek. I think people kind of realized at the time that James Bond was kind of ridiculous.
I still think that they're making a lot of mistakes with James Bond in the simple, we did a gritty reboot when gritty reboots were all the rage and everywhere, and every franchise was doing it. And at the same time, it was coming out when the Bourne Identity series was absolutely kicking goals. And they're sort of like, we need to just keep doing that. Like, no, you evolve the formula. No? Oh, okay. No, all right.
People don't want formula. I can't wait to see if they chose, I'm going to enjoy it so very, very much if they choose a black James Bond or a female James Bond. They'll do a female James Bond. Like, they get Melissa McCarthy, Paul Feig could direct it, and it'll be all about girl power.
I am not having Melissa McCartney anywhere near a terrible British accent. Sorry.
Can we get Dawn French? Is she too old? I mean...
Fuck it, Dawn French could do it.
We can get Coulter to do the voiceover because she does an English accent really well.
Apparently, the woman, the agent in the new Bond movie, the one who was Captain Marvel's best friend, she is apparently James Bond. She's apparently 007. She's not James Bond, but she's the 007 agent. So it's a black female 007. So we might get that crazy response.
Those boxes. I mean, look, I mean, I remember when they were talking about Idris Elba being cast at one point in time, and like conservative radio hosts were like, we can't have a black man playing James Bond. He's white. I'm like,
he's fictional.
He's fictional. He's not real. He can be whatever the fuck we say he wants to. He could be anything. He could be a freaking member of the Green Lantern Corps if we want him to be. Like, and there's a crossover that needs to happen. But yeah, it's going to be delicious just to see people's minds blowing when they're their favorite, because they'll do it, right? They'll do it.
Of course,
they're going to keep this franchise fresh, like you say, and surely this is Craig's last film as Bond. So I mean, there's a word on the street he's going to die in this film. So and they'll hand it over to somebody, and they'll do something and it'll be like James Woke Bond or something, and it'll be so good to see people flipping their shit.
He'll be 21 years old. He'll be spindly. He won't really know how to kick ass, but he will know how to hack a computer. And he'll be slightly
I think, though,
Go on. What were you saying?
I was going to say, I think it's my internet's telling me it might be time for bed because you've frozen up in the last twice in the last couple of minutes, and I don't want to have to do this bit again.
Fair enough.
So for all the reasons to end the podcast, this seems like the most sensible.
Yep, sounds good. That will do our show for this week then, ladies and gentlemen. Travis is frozen again. So I will just finish off the show. Thank you very much. We've had a very interesting show talking about working in Australia, working on video games, gaming unions, The Mandalorian, Star Wars, Snyder Cut, Batman, Terminator, Fan Obsession, Years and Years, The Crown, James Bond, and we had a little bit of antiquated wrestling with the Hardy Boys references at the start.
Not antiquated. It's only 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years. That's terrifying. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, good night.
Good night.
Ask me how I am, and tell me what's beneath this sleeve. There's something else in place, and in the silence those words will keep. Will keep, will keep. What is your truth? Has it been blurred by time? Has it seeped away from you? What is your truth? We dread this ebb and flow. It's taking pieces bit by bit. The more we're shown, the less we know. Helpless by all and after still. We'll keep